Success for most of us, it's symbolized by flashy cars, designer outfits, and extravagant vacations. But what if I told you that staying humble or even quote unquote looking poor might actually be a really key financial way to be able to build your wealth? I know it sounds crazy, right? But it's true. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how maintaining a low profile and being able to resist the urge to flaunt can help you save even more money, protect you from financial predators, and even keep the IRS off your back. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why looking poor might be a really smart financial strategy for you. So make sure you stick around till the end because I'm going to share with you how to be able to go ahead and do this and much, much more. All right. So let's talk about this concept of stealth wealth. All right. Human beings are wired to judge people based on their appearances. And while looking rich might get you some momentary respect, looking poor, at least looking unassuming, gives you a long-term edge. So let's talk about this concept of stealth wealth. All right. So this isn't about being dishonest or deceptive. Stealth wealth means living below your means and also avoiding being too flashy. So think about a whole bunch of billionaires out there, right? We got Warren Buffett, who still lives in a modest house he bought in 1958, or you got Mark Zuckerberg, who often is seen wearing plain t-shirts and jeans despite being billionaires. So just because you have it does not necessarily mean you have to show it. All right. And there's some advantages of being underestimated. So when people perceive you as modest, they're less likely to be able to ask you favors, right? They try to take advantage of you or even target you for scams. And that kind of freedom is priceless and really a peace of mind for a lot of people. So consider the story, right? Let's say, for instance, there's a tech entrepreneur who made millions, but continued to drive a 10-year-old car and wore plain clothes. And investors and colleagues often assumed he was just starting off, which allowed him to negotiate better deals without the pressure of being seen as rich. All right. So that can give you a competitive advantage as well. And research actually shows that people tend to connect more authentically with those who appear humble. And that actually translates into stronger relationships, both personally and also professionally as well in the long term. All right. So let's talk about this concept of being able to get the financial benefit of this. So living modestly does not just change how people perceive you, it has a direct impact on your wallet. So you want to be able to avoid what's called lifestyle inflation. All right. So, what's lifestyle inflation? Lifestyle inflation happens when your expenses rise as your income grows. And it's a trap of upgrading to a luxury car, buying a bigger house just because you can. But here's the truth: the more you can spend on status symbols, the less you have to invest in the future. So, I want you to imagine, for instance, you're earning an extra $20,000 a year. And instead of using that money to go ahead and buy a car or just splurge, you can go ahead and invest it into an index fund with 8% annual return. And in 20 years, that money can grow to over 100,000. And that's the power of compound interest, but then also discipline to be able to not fall into this lifestyle creep. And luxury items could come with some hidden costs. A lot of people don't think about this, but it can have you paying higher insurance premiums. It can have you pay expensive maintenance and even property taxes. But by living modestly, you could actually avoid some of these financial traps. So there's a really common rule out there, and it's called the 50-30-20 rule. And it says 50% of your income should be for your needs. 30% should be for your wants, and 20 should be for your savings and investments. And it's an easy rule to follow, especially if you're just starting off on your financial journey, because when you are doing this, you're able to go ahead and avoid some of the temptations when it comes to being able to get these luxury goods. All right. But more important, let's talk about what is going on recently and how the IRS is actually using social media to go ahead and audit people. So here's something that you might not realize. Your social media could be giving the IRS a reason to take a closer look into your finances. And unfortunately, they are allowed to do this, right? So the IRS now uses advanced data analytics and even monitors public social media accounts to be able to identify discrepancies. So let's say, for instance, if your tax return shows that you have 50,000 or you made 50,000, but your Instagram account is filled with posts with private jets and luxury vacations, that could be a red flag to the IRS. And there's actually an example of this. There's a small business owner in Florida who was actually audited after posting photos of a new yacht and luxury cars. And the IRS found some undeclared income, resulting in fines and penalties for him. So it can trigger an audit, unfortunately. So having these flashy purchases and showing it off, and it doesn't necessarily align with the reported income, could create some issues down the line for you as it relates to the IRS. So, they're going to see the large cash transactions or this sudden lifestyle change, and business owners who claim excessive deductions while also showcasing wealth online as well. So, here's a couple of practical tips as it relates to this. So you want to keep your social media profile low key if you can. Better yet, focus on sharing your experiences or skills rather than flashing and showing off material possessions if this is something that is important to you. All right. That's going to be really key. And also, this quote unquote looking poor, looking modest doesn't just save you money, but it actually can help you build stronger and even more authentic relationships. So, why modesty attracts authenticity? So, when you strip away all the status symbols, you allow people to be able to connect with the real you. Especially, it's going to be even more important in relationships, whether they're personal or professional. So, to give you an example of this, right, there's an entrepreneur that I know who shared how dressing simply helped him actually connect with a mentor who valued hard work over appearances. And especially as you move up and as you continue to make more money, you realize that the biggest value, and people tend to respect you more for being a hard worker versus looking rich, right? And that relationship actually led to him getting be able to build that relationship and honestly build like $1 million partnership. And you want to be able to adopt this concept of the gray man strategy, right? So you want to blend in rather than stand out. And that helps you focus on really what matters, which is your skills, your values, and your goals. And if you're able to do that, then you are going to be able to benefit in the long run. All right. So here's another hidden benefit of quote unquote looking poor, right? It gives you safety. So, especially with the technology that we have here, there's a lot of online thefts that's going on, a lot of scams, and having being flashy with your possessions is going to attract, unfortunately, the wrong kinds of people, right? But by staying low key, you actually reduce your risk of becoming a target. So I want you to consider this. There's actually a traveler who is wearing simple clothes and carrying a modest bag is less likely to be pickpocketed than someone who is wearing designer, has a whole bunch of jewelry, and all that kind of stuff, right? So you want to be able to do it, and also breeds jealousy as well, which is not something that you want to be able to attract. And there's also legal things that can happen with you as well. So it actually reduces your legal risk. So people who flaunt their wealth are more likely to face lawsuits or opportunistic claims versus someone who's just being modest with their appearances, and reduces the chances of being seen as having deep pockets. And people tend to, especially in the United States, tend to try to go after people who they believe have the money. So what you want to do, you want to opt out, or you at least want to opt in for probably having some more low-key clothing, maybe unbranded clothing, accessories. It's not about denying yourself of these things. If this is not something that's really, really important to you, obviously, if it is important to you, then obviously you can go ahead and do that. But it's more about being safe and staying focused and not feeling that you have to be able to quote unquote keep up with the Jones or keep up a certain appearance so people could respect you. And understand this. So if you're ready to be able to do this, a couple of things that I recommend to be able to start. So number one, you want to avoid flashy purchases, so resist the urge to buy luxury items unless they serve a practical purpose for you, especially if it's not something that's really important to you. Number two, you want to focus on investments and not appearances. So focus more on investing inside versus what's outside your body. So you want to put money into assets that grow over time, like stocks, real estate, your education, which again is investing what's inside of you instead of investing what's outside of you. Keep your social media profile simple, like posting content that reflects your values, not your bank account. Again, it's going to allow you to be able to avoid predators, but then also avoid the IRS trying to come after you and trying to audit you to make sure that what you have is legit. And then also surround yourself with like-minded individuals and people. Connect with those who have value and really value authenticity over materialism, right? And that's going to be extremely important as well, right? So why is looking poor probably the best decision you can make when it comes to building wealth? It's simple. It helps saves you money, protects your privacy, and helps you build a better future. Remember, true wealth isn't about what you show, it's about what you grow. And that's really the key. And if you're looking for more information about how to be able to grow your wealth, I'll see you in the next video here. Take care.